Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live stream of the Engadget Podcast recording. I am Deputy Editor Sherlyn Lowe, and I am joined today by Senior Editor Devendra Hardwar. Hey, Dev.
Hello.
Your
hey,
background
I'm
looks
in New York.
different.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I'm in our office in New York, and there are more people coming in than I expected. That's fun.
Yes, well, it's as if a pandemic isn't still raging. Well, I wouldn't say it's raging, but anyhow. Speaking
It's still raging.
of,
It is, in fact, still raging. Everybody's just pretending it's not, but yep.
I was gonna
Yep.
say, like, speaking of the pandemic, I'm sick from the triple demic, right? It's either cold or flu. I tested negative for
Or
COVID,
something.
whatever.
Or
But
whatever
on this
RSV technically is. Yeah.
on this live stream, you may see me occasionally try to wipe my nose discreetly. Just FYI, if it's a trigger for y'all, I apologize. Also joining us today is Ben Ellman, our podcast producer. Hey, Ben.
Wearing red today in support of the New York Times walkout.
Oh, good to
Oh,
know.
right. All right. Yeah, we don't have
lots
any
going on
links
in
to them
media.
today. So, yeah.
In the media industry. So as people who are joining us regularly probably are aware, this is a live behind the scenes look of how we record the Engadget podcast, which goes out on all your podcast platforms either tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. You can go listen on listen on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, etc., wherever you get your podcast. But because this is the live behind the scenes look, you may see us, flub, take lines over, and we will also not be able to engage directly with the chat during recording segments. However, we do plan to take breaks and talk directly to those of you who are there. You can always ask questions, and our producer Ben is watching and he'll bank them. So speaking of the chat, hey, Dhruv Karmokar is there. Aaron Analog has there. Declan Flynn says, good morning. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Aaron has a question for Devendra, or
I have definitely
Aaron
not
is a little
oscillate-
thrown.
not lost weight. Yeah.
It's because you're on the wrong side, so-called wrong side now. The way
I'm on the wrong side. Also, it's a
shout
different
out,
camera, so that may be messing things up.
that might be it. Shout out
Yeah.
also to our live stream team. We got Julio Barrientos on keyboards, and Julio will tell you that it's like the main host has to be on the top or the left, and then the co-host has to be so today it's me. It's me. It's the Sherlyn show. Hi to Lucky Dog Podcast. So today we're going to talk about all the AI generated stuff that's been floating around social media. If y'all have your pictures or thoughts, send them podcast@engadget.com or tweet them at us so we can look at them live during the stream if you're willing to share your AI faces. But yeah, I think we're about ready to go. Dave Sanders says hello. Anything else you want to bring up, Dev, Ben?
No, I think
No.
we're good. My recording's going.
So we got to
Okay,
go
yeah,
and
so-
Apologies,
do our
folks, if
background
anything's
sync thing,
weird.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
if
that's
everyone's recording is going, then we're going to do a sync. If you're new to this, I'm just going to count down from 3. At the end of 3, me, Dev, and Sherlyn are going to make a sound, and you can make a sound in the chat. You can clap in the chat. Love seeing all the claps. And then we're going to do maybe like a little bit of silence, and then we're going to actually get into the episode. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, silence over. Let's get to the episode.
Alrighty.
Also, hello to Dave Sanders, Daniel Diaz, Christoph Howard, some of our regulars. We recognize your names. So thanks for coming back. All right. Also, we're going to have a special guest join us sort of halfway through the show. Stay tuned for that.
Oh, yeah. Exciting times. Fun guests.
All right. I'm ready if everyone's ready.
Yes.
Dope. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Engadget Podcast. I'm Deputy Editor Sherlyn Lowe.
I'm Senior Editor Devendra Hardwar.
And today we're talking about all of the creepy, maybe uncanny AI stuff we've seen posted all around the internet this week. Devendra has a surprise for me during this show, so you can stay tuned
So many
for
surprises.
my real live reaction. And then later on in the episode, we'll be joined by editor-at-large James True to talk a little bit about action cameras as well as our roundup of the year, our coverage that looks back on the year that was 2022. As
Very
always,
exciting.
if you're
Yeah.
enjoying... Yeah, as always, if you're enjoying the show, please make sure to subscribe on your podcast catcher of choice. Leave us a review on iTunes. And we usually broadcast the recording of this show live on the Engadget YouTube channel on Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's a fun time. You can leave your comments. We will answer the questions live, talk to you live. So yeah, we get to interact and have fun. Come join us then.
Yeah, keyword is live. You can actually interact. It's great.
All right. So let's dive into it. This week, if you've been on social media at all, you may have seen a lot of very glowed up pictures that people have been posting of themselves.
Literally
and
glowed
they
up
look kinda
in many
glowed up,
cases,
right.
like glowing, actually. Yeah.
Exactly. And not only that, if you're in more writery channels or media circles, you may also have seen people post bot generated articles or blog posts and that sort of stuff. Devendra, did you notice this phenomenon as it was happening? Have you partaken in it?
I have noticed this phenomenon. So, I mean, throughout this year, right, we've been talking about the rise of AI generated art. We've also talked about AI, text bots and stuff too, where you could potentially have conversations. There was the one guy who believed Google's, chatbot was basically sentient, and he has now recanted that whole thing. And we dedicated a whole episode to that. But what's funny is that over the past few weeks, we're seeing more and more things basically get to a point where it's people are actually using them. So the big one I'm seeing all over the place is Lensa, which is it's basically a photo editing app, but it also gives you the ability to send 10 to 20 photos to their AI processing. I believe they're using Stable Diffusion. And it takes that and it just gives you a wide variety of your portrait, your avatar, your face in very different settings. So I've seen a lot of people do it. If you've been looking around on Instagram or whatever, you're probably seeing people put their stuff up. It's interesting. Have you dabbled at all in this, Sherlyn?
I remember every time this new sort of AI or fun app type of thing that has to do with your selfie happens, I know subsequently we find out it was a huge data scam. It was a huge vulnerability. They're stealing your data. So I didn't. I held off. I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then it also reminded me of Meitu and a whole bunch of other, selfie editing apps that used to generate these sorts of portraits as well.
Yeah.
I was like, how's this different?
It's
really?
it is very similar. It's not the first time we've seen this sort of thing. I think it's the level of how hard this goes that's kind of interesting. It will put you into full on genres. For me, it leaned hard on sci-fi. It gave me some really futuristic headsets because I had some photos of me in the HoloLens and VR in there too.
Ooh, right.
So it kind of has fun with it, but also there's good and bad to it. I think it leads to some interesting things. I don't think it gets eyes correctly. Facial expressions don't look very good too. Some of my eyes in some of the photos just look completely dead because it doesn't get pupils very good. And there was one, which I'm not going to show you guys, but my eyes are just completely reversed and eyelids are reversed and it looks like something from a horror movie. So, we'll have a whole bunch of things to show on the live stream. I encourage you guys, if you're listening on the audio thing.
Hang on. Yeah, I was going to say, so why don't you, those of us on the live stream, you can show me now actually, Devendra. Let's have. I know our studio team, which is running our live stream, has your pictures. This will be my first time, whether or not you're watching the stream or listening.
Let me set this up in the audio though before you get your reaction.
I was setting it up, but okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I collected a bunch for you, Sherlyn, because we know how much you love being surprised and you love to surprise me with your pop culture picks. So we have sent them to our video producer and we're just going to display some. So on the audio side, you guys are going to hear Sherlyn's reaction. You could go check out the YouTube live stream to see what these pictures actually look like because I won't be posting them online. Okay. So let's pick one. Let's start. Ben, Julio, are you going to choose?
Oh my God.
What do you see?
Is this the original? Okay, so this is a picture of Devendra looking incredibly polished. with a white scarf
Super
wrapped
posh.
around his neck with like really nice glasses on, but his face, there's something kind of strange about it. Your ear looks
You're having a
not like
really
your real
hard time like
ear.
saying anything nice about my avatar, my picture. I get it. I totally get it. Yeah.
It is good looking. I wanted to ask if the source image you provided was the image that's from your filmcast.
No, it's
no,
just
okay.
a bunch of
'Cause it looks
selfies I
familiar.
had.
Yeah.
One of my headshots. I think one of the headshots I had made in Engadget. So yeah, this image is from the superhero genre of pictures it produced, and I don't know.
So you're
the
supposed to be
scarf
like
is
Clark
very
Kent,
much like
sort of?
this is very much like a superhero strike pose. So yeah, the scarf. I don't know where it got the scarf from because I don't really wear scarves that often. But this is
You should. It looks
is
good
very
in
much
this
like a superhero
picture.
pose. A good
You
picture.
should totally
Yeah.
wear. Oh my goodness. Okay, we've moved on to a second picture now. Holy crap. All right, this picture, Devendra's hair is not anything he usually wears, I don't think. It's kind of got
Although it's giving me
it's all
ideas. I'm certainly
standing
getting
up.
ideas from
It
this
is.
AI.
right. It's standing up. He's
This
got
is very
a
much
pair of
like-
shades on.
yeah.
What is that, like an M&M in your forehead?
This is sort of, I don't know. This is sort of like an AI look. I know it's like rock star hair. It's also like, I don't know. It's just like taking stuff and doing different
Lord, we
things
just
with my
moved
face. Here's a different one.
To
Yeah.
a third picture, and this looks a little bit more like Devendra. This picture is front on. The other two pictures were all more like profile or
This
from
one
an
looks
angle.
full on like my Engadget thing. Yeah.
And the outfit that they've put you in is intriguing to me. This one really looks way more like you, honestly. This one
Super
actually looks like
purple with
it
like
could
a
be.
halo moon behind me. This one looks
Yeah.
cool. This one looks almost like an actual, portrait of myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's gonna
And
get
then
wild. How about this
This
one?
next one we just moved on. You look like a tech CEO mogul, but like you
This
kind of look
looks
like a cross
Elon
between.
Musk in full on beast mode or something. Yeah.
You look like a Elon Musk YouTuber CEO sort of thing. Okay, we moved on again to the next one, and now you look like Timo from League of Legends or something, like one of those League of Legends fighting characters
One
or
of
something,
a
you
League
know.
of Legends character, but it's very like it's illustrated.
But you have a very
and
big head in this one, yeah.
big head, small body. This is very much like an anime style thing almost, but this was in the sci-fi genre. It's just like it's having fun. It's kind of having fun. I dig it. I wish the eyes.
So
were
I don't know
better
if we're
in a
gonna
lot of
see any
these.
more pictures because there's more. Okay, wow, this is
there's more.
anime style.
This is full on anime style, which I like. Yeah.
I like it. Your hair is kind of gray and white. We've moved on to another anime example.
This is also anime style.
Also
Yeah.
anime style. Also nice drawing. It's more illustrated now. We've got one more of you where you totally do not look like
It's like
whatsoever.
this is like a lens thing. This is a thing directors use when they're trying to like frame a shot with a lens. So I'm holding that up in like a chair, cross-legged. I don't
Not
know
a
where I got this
director's
picture
chair.
from.
Yeah,
Not a
it's kind of
director's
strange.
chair, but it's sort of like if you're reclining, if like I was like a modern day Alfred Hitchcock, just chilling on a set trying to frame a shot. But it's a wide variety of things, right? It's very different, and I hear your concerns, Chillin, because every time these things pop up, we don't know these companies. Like, where did this company come from? Actually, I don't have the exact name of it right in front of me. There's another one we're looking at now, Dapper Me in like a white suit.
It looks good in a white suit. Yeah.
That one looks good. Honestly, it's giving me some like style ideas. Like, hey, can I do that with my hair? I don't know, because honestly, my hair I typically just never get a chance to do much with because I don't have time for styling or anything. Yeah,
I also
but yeah,
have
we
to
don't know
say-
these companies. Mm-hmm.
I also have to say that like in these pictures, like the hair color looks like you could pull off a lot of different hair colors too. Like, but
I mean,
maybe
a
it's
lot of-
because
yeah,
the
I would love
AI
to do
makes
that.
you look good, right? Anyway.
Yeah, it
yeah.
smooths out things. It is sort of like, I would say like it's the way sometimes I want to envision myself, like when I'm on a stage or doing something. It's sort of like the way I want to see myself, but definitely not the way I look in reality. And that is sort of like an interesting thing. It's just like tying over. Yeah.
The company that made Lenza AI is called Prisma Labs. It's based in California,
Yes,
and
Prisma
it had the company was founded in 2016, and it's the company behind the editing app called Prisma, which I've seen on the App Store. I think people have used it. I don't know if that means we can necessarily trust the company. You know what I mean?
At least they've been around. We know they've been dabbling in this space. We don't fully know if we can trust like their data and stuff, right? They say like, so basically you're sending them 10 to 20 photos. They say they delete those photos after they're done processing, and that process takes like a day. But the actual photos it creates, I think I saw a note saying, hey, in the future, we'll give you the option to delete your other data on our servers, which sort of implies, you're just keeping those. They're just on your servers. And then anything you contribute to an AI, just makes the AI stronger, right? The AI is like a Borg, so it's getting smarter and stronger. It sees different types of people, and you're also contributing to the power of the AI in a certain way. I don't know how this stuff works with Stable Diffusion, because that's a whole separate open source project, I believe. So they're just kind of tapping into that.
Right.
But maybe there will be some crosstalk. Maybe there will be some learning from that. I'll say my experience was mostly positive. We have seen stories from people saying it's terrifying, especially for women and women of color. This AI is doing weird stuff like maybe over-sexualizing them in ways, lightening their skin, which many people don't want. There's an article in Wired about a person who basically uploaded a lot of child photos too, of herself as a child, along with some adult photos. And Lenza just ended up with these weirdly sexualized child photos of her. And that is just strange and disturbing. And some people have seen even worse. So this stuff is not perfect. Yeah.
So speaking of even worse, the company Prisma 2 days ago apparently had to come out and say, hey, we're working to make sure that Lenza doesn't accidentally generate nudes. It is kind of wild that, like, you know, because there's an article a little while ago that said it's all too easy to trick Lenza into generating NSFW pictures. So Prisma says it is now working on preventing that from happening. I mean, it's kind of like a deep fake, right? If you think about it. I wonder if this gives anyone any pause, because I know in our live chat during the live stream, dude named Charlie, looking at the pictures of Devindra, was very much like, I need these filters, lol. Lucky Dog Podcast also said it's pretty impressive for being a free software thing.
They look cool. It's not free. It's not free. So let me be
But
clear.
what about if the AI accidentally generated a nude?
I mean,
would y'all
you can trick it to
think
do
it's
that?
so impressive? Yeah.
I mean, I think some people are trying to do that. So the process of, starting Lenza is you download the app, and it starts with saying like, hey, you want this, right? $50 a year. Sign up for the subscription. So you have a free trial, but you kind of have to start using the subscription before you do the app. I also hear I've heard from some people you don't actually have to do that, but I just wanted to like get through and see it going. So I did the subscription and immediately unsubscribe. So do that for every app, folks, like where you have a free trial, so you're not paying whenever it refreshes. So I did that. And then for the magic avatars, as they call these, that's an extra $8. So I basically paid that $8 for these pictures.
Wow.
Yeah. It was like 50 pictures, and I got them in 4K. So I got them in like very high resolution, but people are paying for these things. So it's already generating probably a decent chunk of money. Yeah.
It's a lot to think about, because first of all, these things are generating selfies. Already it's all like coming up with a depiction of what's a stylized version of you look like, right? If it's nudes, we're talking body types, we're talking torso, we're talking like just you know, physicality that like also has a definite, like, the industry has struggled a long time with like what's the so-called ideal size, or it's just body image stuff, and how is an AI going to learn about that? Is it taking your image and then tweaking it thinner and slimmer or longer, like the way we already know a lot of selfie editing apps used to do? We just don't know. Dude named Charlie in the chat already said no nudes please, so we know people are not comfortable with that. You don't want to pay $8 to generate an AI nude of you. But yeah, I mean, I think these look like fun.
Some people may want that of themselves. Who knows? Like, what would that?
What are you gonna do with it? Okay, y'all. What are you doing with this AI stuff?
What if they start feeding images of other things? What am I doing with it? I'm just like, I just wanted to see what they look like, and basically for the show, so we could have this conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know, because it's like if you paid $8 to generate like, you know, a photorealistic. So, because all of these pictures, they're not all paintings or illustrations, right? Some of them looked photorealistic. The first few that we saw kind of looked like they were a photo of you, but like painted maybe. If it looks like a painting enough, would you put it and hang it on your wall? Like, what's it?
No, I mean, I wouldn't. I know some people who would. I know some people who really love to keep images of themselves around and maybe put them on their phones and other devices. So
smart display.
It is not that far to imagine like Sherlyn would definitely have a frame photo of her magic avatar.
I would totally be Samantha from Sex and the City and put up like a picture of me in my peak form on my on my walls. But I mean, yeah, there's I guess, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see where Lenza heads and what Prisma does with it and the data that it has collected.
I would say just be careful. Like, that's the thing. Like, make sure you don't keep that subscription going if you want to test this out. We don't know what the stuff means ultimately, but it's interesting. Yeah.
So I feel like Lensa AI has a more general mainstream appeal, but the other AI generator that's been going around in the last week and a half or so is Chat GPT. It's a bot that like uses your input to come up with a bunch of text-based content. It doesn't necessarily have to be blog entries or articles or whatever. It can be the first example I saw of Chat GPT actually was code. And our producer Ben mentions it too, like I think in our show notes. The first example I saw of Chat GPT was in Our Programmers, which I follow because I'm a programmer. But sure. It was an example of a coder talking to the bot saying, hey, instead of HTML, I have decided to create a new markup language called HBML. And HBML will replace, will be simpler, will be cleaner, will replace parentheses with brackets, with the curly line brackets. So you use divs instead of like the open close tags or tags to envelope your things. So it explained that to the bot, and the bot just came up with a whole new language, with a whole new like HBML. He's like, okay, now that you know what HBML is, write up, show me a web page in HBML. And the bot came back with like an HBML, like a page written in HBML, and it was pretty naughty, I will say. I mean, naughty is my word choice, but
naughty
it was
sick. Bad code or whatever it was trying to make.
No, it was good. It was sick. It was like, oh my goodness, it's pretty sophisticated. Naughty in the sense that like, I'm scared. I'm kind of scared. Like, I feel like a bad child. What do we do now? What have we done? Have you played with ChatGPT, Dev?
I haven't actually had much time with ChatGPT myself, but I've seen the results from a lot of people, right? And definitely a lot of different reporters have done it. I know Dan Ackerman from CNET had asked it to like write a laptop review in his style, and like, hey, it put those words together pretty well, and it sounds like a pretty generic laptop review. It doesn't have the personality I expect from his reviews, and I think that's part of it. It can mimic text, right? These things aren't magic. They're making text based on things that it already knows, stuff it can already see. And we've seen, like, somebody was like, oh, I've had a great conversation about the nature of physics with ChatGPT. But again, you're just talking to a robot that knows some basic information about physics and can kind of bounce it back to you. Yeah. So I think that part, we are just so easily impressed. Again, it's like Blake Lemoine, the guy who thought Google's thing was getting sentient. It's not quite that, but it's also very smart at producing text in many ways. There's a great article in The Atlantic today from Ian Bogost, who's a writer I typically enjoy. I know a lot of people, he writes things that get people angry sometimes, but he points out that ChatGPT is still very dumb. You know, and actually he does this cool trick where the first like 3 or 4 paragraphs of his piece is written by ChatGPT in the style of his voice. And reading it, I'm like, it feels weird. Like my brain is like, he didn't reveal it at the time, but I read those opening drafts and I'm like, this is very simplistic. It's very like, hey, I have this point, therefore, yada, yada, yada. Therefore, this is what it means. And a friend of his had asked, ChatGPT to write criticism of itself, you know, in the style of Ian Bogost, and it's their words. They don't actually mean anything. And I think what Ian points out is that it's still very bad at like meaning, right? It doesn't understand meaning. ChatGPT doesn't know what these words mean. It knows how to put the words together. So it's sort of like somebody writing a very bad book report, you know, or somebody who's like seen a movie version of a book is trying to write a book report based on that. And like, you don't know what this stuff means most of the time. So I don't know. What do you think, Cher?
I think that the subtitle under the title of the Atlantic's article is very good. It says, treat it as a toy, not a tool. It's not here to take over our jobs yet. And we're kind of reading. I want to read some examples of the paragraphs you're talking about. And tell me if this is a correct example of the text you're describing as ChatGPT generated, right? So it goes, first and foremost, ChatGPT lacks the ability to truly understand the complexity of human language and conversation. It is simply trained to generate words based on a given input, but it does not have the ability to truly comprehend the meaning behind those words. This means that any responses it generates are likely to be shallow and lacking in depth and insight. Furthermore, the reliance on ChatGPT for conversation raises ethical concerns. If people begin to rely on a machine to have conversations for them, it could lead to a loss of genuine human connection. The ability to connect with others through conversation is a fundamental aspect of being human, and outsourcing that to a machine could have detrimental side effects on our society.
Yeah.
So
reading that
is an example,
I was clearly like, this is a robot. This is a robot talking about humans, basically, and it's sort of like a robot talking about itself. And you could tell, like, anybody, it reads like a 5-paragraph essay that we used to be assigned in school, and
it
even mentioned
did pretty good. It was good in the sense that, like, a
lot of people criticize. It's like, you're sure that is an assignment, and a lot of people get, but it's a very template-like way of writing. It's not like a way to actually communicate things. It's very basic, and a lot of people think 5-paragraph writing and testing is not really helpful to students, and that is basically what this thing did. Like, it did. Furthermore, it did even says, like, it did an in conclusion at the end, which it all sounds like a 5th grader's book report at the end of the day. And I'm like, yeah, I can tell. I could tell, maybe because I read his stuff, but also because it sounds so basic. And some people are good writers and some people aren't. And maybe for some folks who need a little help, a tool like this could be useful for helping them to formulate their thoughts. But yeah, I don't know if we should be totally freaked out yet. It just feels like that's always our first response, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like freaked out. I guess it immediately just raises the issue of, like, oh no, this is not another, sort of bot that will cause people to feel like AI is sentient again, and like, that's me. I was like, oh no, it's still taking input and spitting out output, so it's still, to me, not too scary. It's not that sophisticated yet.
It's the same basic argument too. It's like, it doesn't get meaning. It doesn't understand meaning. Whereas you can have a conversation about, like, the nature of yourself or what art means or something with another human being. You can't really have that with a chat bot. And also, again, they don't come up with things unprompted. We're always feeding them a question or a prompt, and then it comes back to us. So in that respect, like, it can't comment on things. Yeah. I
did find that ChatGPT is impressive in the sense that it can come up with, like, code. It generates code. That was pretty cool. They are getting more sophisticated, that is for sure, but not to the point of.
And some people were like, I think one other thing people are pointing out is, like, these things, it's hard to tell when they're bad. So a lot of programmers are like, it's giving you code. It won't actually make a game. Right. It's like maybe the basic code you see in an intro to comp sci class. And same thing for, like, when people are asking it more technical questions, it's very good at bullshitting. Right. Because it's good at sounding smart, even if the fundamentals are wrong. So that to me is another danger. Yeah.
Do you know what happened with Hank Green? Because I'm seeing a mention about it in our show notes. You want to tell me about it?
In our show notes? What happened with Hank Green? Let me pull this up for a second. We have the link. So Hank Green on Twitter basically was like, okay, I'm gonna push the limits of Midjourney, which is another AI. He's the CEO of Complexly Media. He typically, like, he tweets about, like, science and the internet, but he asked Midjourney to show him something about cats, but he kept adding A to the word cat. So the first thing, he just writes CAT. It's a beautiful looking cat, handsome cat, long fur. He wrote CAAT, and it is a cat that is more like steampunky. He has, like, a helmet with a watch on it. He has, like, little bits of leather armor. A cat with 3 A's looks like a monk in, like, neo-futurist clothes or something. 4 A's. It's just getting more and more, but you get to 5 A's and the cat is, like, big mouth.
Oh my gosh.
Screaming. You get to 6 A's. The cat is like a weird, it almost looks like a creature from space. You get to 7 A's.
Wow.
It is fully cosmic. 8 A's. It's totally evil. Like, it just gets more and more diffuse. 9 A's. It's no longer a cat. it's a woman that looks like a cat and gets crazier and
Yeah.
crazier. But one of the final images he lists is just like pure cosmic cyber horror, but it looks like a
Wow.
cat.
It
So
all looks so good. You know what I mean? The pictures
it's all like
generated by
really
Midjourney.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're only listening to the audio version of the podcast, make sure to go check out the live stream portion of this, or just look up Hank Green Cat. It's a tweet thread. The pictures are
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
it's a good tweet thread.
I think I mean there's a lot this week that happened with AI generated content. I guess people are just bored. It's the holiday season and we're looking for stuff
Hey,
to do. And
it is a fun new thing we can play with. Yeah, we're all bored.
yeah, and so far it seems harmless. So far, maybe one day I will eat my words. But if you have made some fun AI generated content, you can feel free to tweet it at us at Engadget. You can also send it our way, podcast@engadget.com. We'd love to see your favorites.
Thank you. And by the way, folks in the chat, there's definitely a delay. Like I'm on Wi-Fi in our office, so there's a
There's a
delay
bit of a
between me
delay,
talking
yeah.
to Cher. Like that's what's happening. In case
I
you're
was wondering, like, why are we like out of sync today? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I like we usually get each other better than
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay, so
Do we want to
have
ask
a
for
guest.
James? Yeah.
Yeah,
I will
let's
ping James.
let's take a little break while we're waiting.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
All
Yeah, so
right.
Wreak Havoc said, I'm surprised that Midjourney or anything else did not turn racist and make a blackface cat. That is a legitimate concern.
It's it does it for other things, so yeah.
Why sis? What I want to see Dev also throw in a Ben and a Cher. As in, like,
Yeah.
what will we look like in our final form?
What
Oh,
would
hi,
it do?
James. James is here, not knowing what's going on, kind of just thrown into this conversation blind.
We're talking about
Hey, James.
ChatGPT and all the
You're-
AI
And
stuff.
unmute yourself, James. Yeah.
You also muted, yeah. Take your time,
Hello.
but we'll chat. Hi.
Hello.
Do y'all want to see a James?
What is going on?
Did you not watch the podcast? How dare you?
Yeah.
No, I was actually working.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And that is
Okay.
why, for everyone watching right now, that is why James could only join us around this time. James, tell everyone where you are.
Where I am, I'm in Valencia, Spain. Is that the answer you're looking for?
Yes.
Exactly. Or but where
So-
you are in life. No, I'm kidding.
Just
We're nowhere. That is a much harder
Nirvana, that's where.
question. No, I wish.
okay.
Well, you're in Valencia. You're in the best place, James. So yeah.
Where are you? Are you at home or are you in New York?
I'm in New York right now. So I like
Sorry
New
about
York.
that.
But you have better.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
There's a bit of
James,
a
before we
Wi-Fi
get-
delay on Dev's end, by the way, James,
yeah.
just in case. Yeah.
All right. No worries.
Okay. KP joined the chat and asked, has the pod started? The pod started a while back, but now the pod is really getting started because James is here. We're going to talk all about action cameras. James, for those who don't know, well, we're going to introduce him again for the audio, but James is our editor at large, and it just means he's free to do whatever the hell he wants.
I laugh, but it's true. So
That's great. That's kind of where you want to be. Yeah.
Okay,
And
so
Katie asked if-
James, before
yeah.
we get too deep into like accidentally recording or accidentally doing the show without you recording, can you make sure that you're recording on your side?
I absolutely am not recording on my side. So this
Okay.
will definitely
Yes. So
The
open up your recording program, whatever it might be. And before you do that, make sure that your inputs are right. Maybe do like a little tap on the microphone to make sure that
it's a little hot. Let's bring this down. How do I sound in terms of
You sound good
guys
over
hearing me?
Zoom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's usually good. Yeah.
I'm just looking at my levels. That's a little hot. Let me see if I make sure Wasapi is what I'm going to need. 1 2 1
Yeah.
2 1 2. Yeah. Okay, that's recording.
as long as you're peaking around like negative 12 decibels or something, I think
I'm a
that's
bit
good.
lower than that. I'm about -5.
Oh,
a bit
I mean,
higher,
that's
so-
okay. Yeah, no, that's
I'm well
okay.
in.
I can
well in-
figure
We'll
it out.
make you scream too, James.
Well, with this microphone, it's a dynamic microphone, not to be boring, but this is a gadget thing. But it's got its own preamp as well, so it's like runs really hot.
Oh,
It's a
it does
dynamic-
run really hot. Wow. Okay.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Mic
Yeah,
with
it's
its own
cool, but-
preamp is interesting.
But you got to be careful with it because you plug it into your interface like you would anything else, and like you're like redlining if you're not careful.
Well, yeah, but you know what the EDM people say. If you're not redlining, you're not headlining.
Correct. Just get
Okay,
rid of
do
all that
we
dynamic
and should
range.
we resync, by the way, Ben?
Yes, I would like to resync, but the resync is going to be really fast. So when we're all ready, we're going to resync. Chat, if you want to resync also, you can absolutely do that, but we're not going to be waiting like so much time.
silence.
We might do like 5 seconds of silence and then just jump straight into action cameras. So procedure is going to be sync, tiny bit of silence, and then I'm just going to cue you.
Yeah,
We can go
just
straight
clap
into
when he
action
calls,
cameras.
James.
Yep, I got it. Yep.
Yep. Okay. So 3, 2, 1.
It does like the world's weakest clap. Sorry, I can barely see it on my thing. I don't know why I didn't put my heart into it.
Okay, give him some
It's
silence.
okay.
Give Ben 5 seconds of silence. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Starting now. Okay, we're good. Let's go straight
Amazing.
into action cameras.
Okay, ready? All right. So now we're moving on to a little segment featuring someone and something I've been wanting to talk about for a little while now. Joining us for this part of the podcast is Engadget's editor at large, the one, the only, James True. James, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, Shalane? How's it going, Devindra?
Hello.
Yeah, and I gave you a really big intro, and you like were just like, "Hey," it was not great. You needed to bring a bit more
Hey
hype.
guys, what's up?
This is me running at like 112% enthusiasm. So, you should, don't forget I'm English. This is about as hot as I run.
Oh wow! Well, thank you for bringing 112%. I appreciate it. So
specifically 12.
we talked about in the past, me and James, of having James come on the show to talk more about the action cameras that have launched in the run up. But it always happened during when we have like all kinds of other stories going. It would be too packed of a show, or just Elon Musk constantly burning the internet down, and I'm sorry, James. You know what I mean? So today we finally have some time. We want to talk about all the action cameras you've seen this year, what your favorites are, how the industry looks now. So right off the bat, what was the last action camera you reviewed, James?
It's the Hero 11 Black Mini from GoPro. So they released two this year, which is unusual. They've been doing on a pretty steady Apple-style new camera every fall type thing. But they released the Mini this year, which came out after the main Hero Black. So that was just a couple of weeks ago, actually. I think it's quite recently that we did that one.
Yeah, I remember that one. What was the difference between that and the like Hero 11 Black? Like I think we sort of talked about it in our show, but we didn't really get the full expert opinion.
Yeah, there's not a lot. I mean, functionally, it's the same camera. So in terms of like the quality of the footage, you're looking at the same thing, but it doesn't have the screen on the back because it's smaller, as the name suggests. It's a little bit lightweight. It doesn't do a few other things, like you can't use it as a webcam, which you can every other GoPro. And it's a little more limited. It's really they're just attempting to make it a straightforward helmet camera. Like, don't buy this because you want to do a bunch of things with it. Just buy this one because you just want to put it on your helmet and off you go, kind of thing, right? But it does get really hot quite easily. So, which is
112% hot, or like
maybe 212%.
oh no.
So yeah, but they were pretty quick to make sure that we knew that don't just use this to record 4K at home in a static environment, because it's not going to do that. Which is because the first thing all the YouTube testers do is exactly that. So yeah, but it is also they're definitely trying to push a message to steer you away from the obvious failing that it overheats in about 5 minutes as well, if you're recording.
Wow.
Oof. That reminds me of like old school mirrorless cameras where you couldn't really do more than 5 or 10 minutes of 4K recording. This thing is very cute. I have to say that, James. So you've seen a lot of action cams, right? So design-wise, it's a big step up.
Yeah, it's a big step up. It's not quite as small as I would like it to be. With a name like Mini, right? You're thinking it's going to be like a good, like the Hero Session. They were basically as big as the lens, and that was it. Whereas this is the space savings aren't a lot. That's not necessarily the reason why to buy it, I guess. I mean, I guess it is, but it's not as small as it could be. Is really what I'm saying. But it is slick and it is nice, and as long as you're moving, it's never a problem. It should be clear you can record in 4K at home as long as you're like on 4K 30. I think if it's once you go above that you're gonna sort of have problems. So I prefer the regular Hero 11 Black, if I'm honest. But because it's not cheap enough to go down to the Mini. It's like a $50 difference.
Oh,
to lose quite a bit of functionality. That screen on the back is really, really useful. And there's no screen on the front either. So
for the Mini, right? Because I know the regular has both back and front screens.
Yes, which are probably two of the most important things that they've done in recent years, because framing yourself with those things is notoriously annoying. If like you're doing the stick thing and you're just trying to get yourself in shot, it's like it's such a wide shot, you can now kind of end up either just cutting yourself off, or you're like really up against the top sort of thing. So.
Because they're pretty wide angles. So for our Apple Watch Ultra review video, me and Brian went out, and Brian had his professional camera. I was manning the GoPro Hero 11 Black, and after my experience with that, I went to James and I was like, okay, I love this thing. It's got the screen. I could put myself in it. I could see myself. And for me, obviously, that's the sort of videos I make. Videos with me and them. Just me. It's cool. We were just like dancing or just trying to dance. James, like, is action cameras, right? What do you use them for? Like, what are you getting up to out there in Valencia, Spain?
Well, so it's interesting because you used the term action camera, and I think in one of my last stories, I can't remember if it was the Mini or the 11, I sort of made a point about how that name is a bit of a sort of an anachronism now, because they're even though they're very well suited to that kind of thing, they've kind of become quite popular in creative circles and social media sort of types. So they introduced, this isn't just GoPro, but they're a really good example of it. They sort of 90-degree mode. So if you're shooting for Instagram and stuff like that, a lot of people use it in those sort of things. Or I've got a friend who's like a street photographer. So he goes out and he goes around town, takes a load of photos, but he keeps his GoPro on his like backpack strap, and then he cuts it all together later as like a sort of a vlog of sorts. Which is nothing revolutionary, but I'm just saying when he combines it with his photos, and it's like you get this really slick video that leads into all the cool photos that he's taken as well. So I think a lot of people are using it. Vlogging has come a long way. GoPro, in fact, sells a creator edition, which is more focused on that side of thing. So that's kind of one of the more interesting areas. My favorite, though, is how it's drone videos, but not the ones you're thinking of. So we're not just talking about like your dad's drone videos where he's filming like beautiful landscapes somewhere in rural.
My
Delaware.
dad doesn't take those, but okay.
Right, but these ones where they're incredibly fast but incredibly smooth, like a dolly sort of thing, and the camera the drone will be like going under the skateboard or like around through really complicated things, and incredibly. There's some really good Instagram accounts. FPV Amazing is a good place to start. Look at that, and you'll see these really, really incredible drone videos that are shot with action cameras rather than like a DJI drone.
Right. Their stabilization has come a really long way, right?
Yeah, that is without doubt. I would say there's a solid break between DJI's first one, which had really good stabilization, and GoPro's Hero 7, which is the first to add the hyper smooth. That's kind of like a BC and AD type scenario where the action camera just became so much better after the stabilization thing was taken care of, because beforehand, honestly, 90% of my footage would be garbo. It's just too shaky.
That's not your fault.
I mean, it's sort of thing. But unless you're doing something very steady, it was very difficult to sort of get anything usable out of it. But the stabilization was a huge thing, and GoPro's is really, really, really good now. So
do you also review a bunch of drones for us too, like drone cameras, if I'm not wrong?
Yeah, I have, but I haven't for a while. I've kind of passed off on Steve, because first of all, Steve's a much better photographer than I am. And he lives in in rural France, which is absolutely stunning. Where he lives is like, where I live is nice, but where, like, you know, I live right by the airport and blah 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 blah. So
It's hot.
getting out to film with drones is really, really difficult. So Steve's really the guy on who's been on that beat more recently. But yeah.
Gotcha. Do you think phones are becoming, I mean, I feel like they're just at a point with everything Apple's added, right? Like the action mode and everything. It seems like less and less of a reason most people wouldn't even need a GoPro at this point.
Yeah, this is kind of the thing that people have been saying really since the beginning of it's the thing that keeps coming up. And
Yeah.
I think for a good reason, because you're right. The camera you get on, say, your iPhone, for example, it's really good. Or on a good Samsung, that it does 90% of what you want to do, right? And the old adage, you know, the best camera you have is the one you have with you, which is always going to be your phone, right? But I find for me personally, using the GoPro is like first of all, like I can set it up and I mount it somewhere, right? I'm never going to do that with my phone.
Right.
So that's the standard thing that keeps them apart. And also even though the iPhone's waterproof, I don't know if I want to be like surfing with my phone or anything if I was to ever go surfing. So you're right. I feel like most people like can probably get away if you're on vacation or whatever, take your phone, you know. But I think GoPros have, or I keep saying GoPro, but I just mean action cameras in general. If you look at like DJI's Osmo, what's the one with the stabilizer? It's Osmo Pocket. They're just really good vlogging cameras, and I don't know, but I like dedicated devices for dedicated things, right? And I think that's kind of what keeps me going back to the GoPros. I know this is task specific. I've got all the mounting options in the world. I can keep my phone in my pocket, out of harm's way, and do that. But a lot of people, the phone's going to be enough.
I would say that like using a GoPro to film as opposed to like my phone, the biggest benefit for me has been things like battery life, right? Like the GoPro had not like continuous looping battery, but like if I don't want to drain my phone's battery life, the GoPro is better. And then the storage is good. The stabilization, honestly, especially with the wide angle lens, has been really pretty good on that thing. So I can set it and forget it almost, and then leave it somewhere, right? And then whenever I think I want to get a clip, I press down the shutter button, and then like I do a little bit like a 30-second clip, and then I stop it or something. So it is convenient that way when it's already on you, and you know you're going out to like shoot a video thing for sure.
There are definitely some modes as well. I forget the GoPro's stupid name for it, but it's kind of, it's, you know, it's hyper something or super whatever, hyper view, I think it is, where
that's right.
it literally gets the whole of the frame and crowns it into a 16:9. Now, for 90% of things you ever want to film, this is awful. Never do that. It just it's going to look really, really weird. But when you're doing first person activities, it just adds this sense of speed and intensity that is really, really, really cool. I've got one of the test clips I did. I'm just on an electric skateboard going around the center, but every time you pass something, it's this sense of like proximity and speed that you can't get with your phone camera, probably. I mean, maybe they could do it, but it's particularly good for stuff like that.
Are we going to keep covering action cameras by the generation? James, what do you think?
So I think so GoPro does it every year, and I feel like this year's it's always a better camera. It kind of gets a bit annoying to review them because you're like, yeah, it is better, but you know, like you must get this with phones, right? Where of course it's better, but is it exciting? I don't know. So the 11 wasn't that exciting to me, and I wish GoPro would sort of slow it down and do every 2 years. Like DJI doesn't pump them out so often. Insta360 doesn't pump them out so often. So maybe it would be nice if they sort of eased off the gas a little bit and kept the updates a little bit more exciting every sort of time. But for now, they're going to keep doing it every year. So we'll just.
What are they going to add? 360-degree mode? They're going to add VR.
Well, they already added that. So
the
the current GoPro, you can actually spin it 360 degrees and it will not move. The horizon will lock, which is pretty cool. And they already have the 360 camera. So I always think the same thing. What are they going to do? There's nothing really they can do, and they kind of find something somehow. So this is why I don't work in.
Make it smaller, make it cheaper. I feel like that
would
could be
better,
useful for
right?
people.
The price is is the main barrier, I would say. And there's weird pricing they do where it's more expensive if you don't get a subscription.
Yeah.
Oh
Yep.
Lord, I hate that.
Well, it's good for the customer because you just get a subscription and the camera's cheaper, but it's just very confusing. I think if you're like at Best Buy and you're seeing this, you're like, why is it more expensive? Isn't that the better thing? Because normally the pricier thing is the better thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Before we wrap this section up, what advice do you have for someone that's looking to buy an action camera, not only maybe for themselves, but for, let's say, someone else as a gift?
I definitely know what you want to do with it, I think, because I think you see a lot of people that buy an action camera and they're just sort of walking around on their vacation, holding it in their hand like this, and it's awful for that stuff. So know what they do, like if they're into sort of water sports or like first-person view stuff, make sure that the action camera is the best thing for what they want to do. And don't have any shame in getting something like an older... GoPro keeps its last 3 models as the sort of top, middle, and bottom. And I would say anything from the 9 onwards is really, really good. So do not panic about getting an older model. And also do definitely look at Insta360 and DJI because there might just be a little better value for what you specifically need, even if I would say GoPro has like a bigger ecosystem and a better app and stuff like that. So don't just go for the most expensive, I guess is the short version of what I just said.
Yeah. Buy smart. I feel like is the thing we always talk about. Also, I bought one a couple years ago because I was like, I'm gonna do it with kid stuff. We're gonna go for walks and go for hikes and stuff. Maybe I could put it in my hat. I've used it like once or twice. So I also need more reasons to actually use it. Yeah.
I mean, weirdly enough, the reason why I enjoyed them is because I feel that by having them, I'm gonna find a reason to use it, right? Rather than the other way around. But some people are already like really good at mountain biking and they need a camera for it or they want a camera for it. I'm the opposite. I'm like, maybe if I buy this, I might go mountain biking, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't.
For me, it's more finding the time to afterwards put things into a presentable video.
Yes, which is probably another big thing that I didn't touch on that they've actually got better at over the years. It's still not perfect, but these days you can go from like camera to app to Instagram pretty quickly, and on all the platforms, but GoPro will make an automatic video for you, which is really, it's not perfect, but it's much better than just leaving it rotting on your memory card.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was setting up this GoPro Hero Black 11, I had to like download an app called Quick or something.
Yeah.
That's their editor?
Yeah, it's a kind of all-in-one app, so you can control the camera from it as well. Is this when you messaged me and you were like, do I need a memory card?
Yes, that was
like,
done.
I was like, oh, yeah, you do.
Okay. We don't need to out me again.
Make sure you put that in your budget.
It was very much, yeah. So when you all buy someone a gift that's a camera or a GoPro or action camera, the memory card doesn't come with, apparently.
Well, you can get a bundle. Like if you shop smart, you can probably find a good bundle on Amazon. Julio, by the way, has a good question. Do you have any good recommendations for GoPro accessories? He's looking for a really good chest mount stabilizer to capture his point of view during soccer. I also feel like that's dangerous for the camera, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, the company, I forget the name. I think it's Fiu Tech. Don't ask me to spell that. They used to do a wearable gimbal that could be used for these sorts of things. I would honestly say if you get most chesty mounts are similar, you don't have to get the official one. And if you get the newer cameras, anything from 9 onwards, maybe even a 7 for the GoPros, I swear the stabilization is good enough that you're going to be all right. And then, I mean, maybe the use case is a bit different, but I would say, just use the maximum stabilization on it if you need it, and just get like the regular chesty mount.
That's okay, cool. Julio, share your footage when you make some, but is that safe? Is that safe to be wearing something while you're in the middle of a soccer match? I don't know.
I want to see. Well, maybe he's not body checking people. That would be. Imagine
the ball comes everywhere. Yeah,
but it's less of a contact sport, right? I mean, maybe you take a camera to the chest, but you're not going to be
a ball to the chest.
Ball, camera, chest, I guess in that order.
Ball hits camera, it all hits your chest. Oof.
No, you'll be fine.
I can't wait to see the Julio soccer videos. That's a good idea. I would like to strap a camera to my body when I Go to the gym? I thought about it after I got
the
the
gym when you go for walks.
That's just going to be like aggressive. Like you're in the gym filming outward. It's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Just
POV
Yeah.
chest press. Yeah.
POV. That was always a shot in like House of Cards when he was on the rowing machine. I feel like a lot of it's just aggressive, whatever you're doing, just crazy aggressive
Yeah.
shots. By the way, guys, I'm gonna have to run in a bit, so
Yes.
you can wrap me whenever
I
you
was
want.
about to wrap, yeah. I want everyone that's watching or listening to send us your favorite uses for a GoPro camera, PG-13, please. Lucky Dog Podcast in the live chat already suggested saying how-to videos are great for action camera users. Devindra, before we let you go, James has been reviewing a Windows handheld gaming machine that y'all should talk about when you have some time. Maybe we can bring James back for you to have this conversation. But thanks, James, for your input on action cameras. You will stick around to finish the rest of the show with me, Devindra. We'll see you around then. Safe travels.
I'll be around, and we're not going to be here. I guess in a couple weeks, but I'll see you all next week. Okay. Later.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so Devindra's out. We are at a segment break. We can take some questions. There are not very many. And then we'll dive right into the rest of the show. James has just fully replaced Def. Not really, not fully, but he's standing in. Impossible. But we did the when in soccer when they switch out number 16 for number 10 or something. I don't know. Okay.
Sure.
I know so much about soccer.
Yeah.
I know so much about soccer stuff. Omer and Marley are in the chat saying hello, so hi. Chooch also said hi. Apparently KP now wants to Google the ways to use a GoPro that is not PG-13.
Yeah, there are a
did that
lot
to
of
myself.
them, and it's not
I did
that
that
it's
to
not that
myself.
hard to find them, but we're not going to tell you.
Well, surgery videos.
Yes.
True.
Surgery.
Pimple popping.
That's why. Yeah. I wonder if I remember one year someone carried a DSLR camera around their neck and went into North Korea. It was a pretty cool video. Yeah, it was a pretty cool video I saw. And imagine a GoPro for that. That would be pretty dope. Yes. Any questions here for James about action cameras before we move on with the rest of the show?
I'm really
People
happy
throwing
that
in there.
James suggested that Instagram account FPV Amazing, because I've been looking to just follow more really interesting drone videos, and I've seen some people who post videos from their racing drones that are absolutely ridiculous. These things are tiny. They can go up in the little rafters of just a normal person's home. I can only imagine what that could be used for in national security, intelligence, really creepy governmental uses.
Really quick, Chinedu Kocha, I think, I don't know how to pronounce your full name, ask if you've missed anything special. Has the talk on AI come and gone? Yeah, we've gone over the AI conversation. You can scrub back in the YouTube video to listen to it, or you can always wait for the audio podcast that drops tomorrow or tonight. Christoph Howard says, do any of these cameras, James, do they have long battery life?
It's kind of like there's a good analogy that is escaping me at the moment, but I guess cat and mouse type thing where they improve the battery every year, but then the camera gets a bit more demanding every year. So it's definitely the weakest point of this segment, I would say. GoPro introduced a new battery recently, which is meant to be better. I honestly don't know if it's hugely better, but it's in terms of longevity. But if you use that battery and use settings from if you record in 1080p, then it's going to be you're going to be fine. It's only when you're up in the 4K, 5K, 60 frames per second stuff it starts to get sucked. But unfortunately, there's none that are particularly good for battery life. They're all a bit average.
Maybe GoPro's next move is to just go ham on battery, and then everything else can stay net same. And
I mean, I do mention it literally every single review. So
maybe they should listen to you.
Right, this is it. So, that I hope that answers the question. Anyway,
I think so. Shout out to D-Man who joined in the chat saying hi. Also, Julio in our chat / Julio on our team says, James, hey, do you have any recommendations on drones? Julio is, really going all out on this soccer match situation
recording.
here.
This is like the world's most high-tech soccer.
Yeah, the most videographed, the most surveilled soccer match in the world. Julio's looking to record a full 1 hour soccer match minimum.
Well, minimum. I
because
mean, what
he
about
knows-
the last
yeah.
half hour, Julio? You're just like, you've got
True.
you've got 90 minutes. This isn't American football.
Sometimes you need the whole full hour to catch the hat trick, Oh, sorry, not hour. Sorry, hour 30. Yeah, 90 minutes. Yeah,
Yes, 90 minutes.
I mean, it's kind of like, obviously what would be nice if you could get one of those, it's not a drone, but it looks like it, right? The ones that they have in the big sport games that are connected by cables, the cable cam, right? Or whatever.
Oh,
that
yeah,
thing.
that's right.
Those things are incredible, just because, they've changed how we view sports. As for regular drones, I mean, if you want battery life, it's going to have to go with DJI. It's going to have to be the latest Mavic, which I think is about 45 minutes maybe battery life. So
that's
if you
not
get
bad at all.
if you get like 2 batteries, you could swap one out, and you can maybe get your game
At
that way.
halftime.
Yeah, there you are. You would
True.
have made it to halftime in that time. So yes,
Yeah.
we solved it.
Don't do any extra time. Don't roll around on the grass pretending you hurt your knee. You can make it halftime. So Julio says that he rents the field for an hour, and that's why his games are only 1 hour. So I guess 30 minutes till halftime, and then replace the battery. Get the DJI Mavic. Okay. Really quickly before I move on, Lucky Dog Podcast says, first of all, I need to ban this person. Second of all, the Lucky Dog says, as a videographer, that they believe drones will replace us, especially indoor drones, or the following drones like Akita. So there you go.
But the
All
thing
right, we're
is
gonna
that,
move on.
like, even following drones aren't going to be able to get like perfect point of view, and they're still not good enough to get perfect point of view, especially for action scenarios like skiing or snowboarding or
Yeah.
something. That requires an equally good snowboarder behind the snowboarder subject.
Or you take a big fall and the GoPro captures it.
True.
That'd be me.
I actually did a story on the history of the potted history of skateboard videos, and within that was quite recent actually. So go read it.
Yeah.
But there's an interesting thing that what it turns out is that the real heroes here are the skate filmers, which goes because they're the ones they have to be highly proficient skateboarders.
Yeah.
But you're also holding a camera and looking really down at the camera.
Yeah.
And but you're still skating behind this guy at 30 kilometers an hour, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So props to those guys. The filmers are the real heroes.
Yes. I would be the one falling all over the place. One last question before we move on. Daniel Diaz asks, is the latest Instax 360 a better first action camera than the latest GoPro?
So it's a really good question. So my experience with the Insta360s is minimal. It's less. Richard Lai is our guy if you want that brand. So he does really good write-ups on those. So definitely search the site and look at those. But I know enough to know that a lot of people actually prefer the Insta360 approach, and the quality is just as good. The software is really good, and that they can be a little bit more economical. So there are a lot of reasons to go with the Insta360. It's never bad. It's not going to be a bad first choice for sure.
Okay. All right, y'all. We'll come back to question and answer with the live chat later. We have to get on with the rest of the show, but keep leaving your questions in the chat. Ben will bank the best ones, and I will try to keep an eye on any bots, spam, or unsavory content. No unsavory content, only savory.
Only savory.
Only savory or sweet. That's all that's allowed here. All right, you ready? Okay. Moving on now to some other news this week. It has been, as you can expect, a slow week in the world of tech news if you want to ignore everything that's going on Twitter, But there has been some intriguing news to me on the iPhone side of things. First of all, iPhone users this week can now share their digital car keys with Pixel owners, because if you're an iPhone user, you might have Pixel friends, I guess, Pixel using friends, and sometimes they need access to your car, and you can send them those car keys. Cool. Is this a thing that happens in Spain?
I don't know.
James?
My car is certainly not advanced enough that I'm not in this party yet. Although I do have one of those wireless fobs where, there's no key interaction. I'm just walking to the car and opening to get in, right?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Which I kind of already dislike that, because there's a level of, you can theoretically drive away and throw your key out the window, right? Not that you would ever do that, but I have left my keys on my roof before.
Yeah.
And you can start driving away, and your car will let you drive away, and the keys will obviously fall off.
Because it will turn on without the key in the
because
ignition.
you're near the car, right? So it thinks the
Right.
key is in the car, even if it's just on the roof. So it's possible to. So anyway, all that to say is that I feel like if we're just introducing more technology, more phones, more shareable stuff, this just makes me nervous about the possibility for things going wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like frictionless, some friction is required because sometimes we need that muscle memory, you think?
Yeah, I definitely think I'm still not used to. I definitely have left. I've said before, my car keys on my roof, but I also went into my apartment, and it took me 24 hours to find them, and they were on top of my car the whole time.
It took you 24 hours?
Because I couldn't, like, the car, I don't know how to explain it, but like my car has these rails on the roof, so and it was just behind that, so I wasn't anyway. But all I'm saying is, like, for idiots like me, introducing extra levels of technology just makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Do you drive?
I mean, I don't yet. I'm actually about to take step 1 today, so we'll talk about this later on. But to like kind of expand on this point for a moment here, I also find it ridiculously funny that the more technology we get in our lives, the more stupid the things coming out of my mouth sound. Because why? Some days it's like, I can't wear those shoes today. They're not charged. I forgot to charge my shoes. I have these self-lacing shoes. I can't wear them sometimes because they're dead. Because they're too tight to get in, if not. And then literally today, my phone, for some reason, T-Mobile just stopped working. I think it's still dead. I couldn't get in my front door because I have like the entry based on my phone. So I know, I basically couldn't get in. And then because my T-Mobile was dead, I couldn't even text anyone to get me in. Then I remembered I carried my keys with me just in case, just for these situations. So I got in. I could almost not make it in time for this podcast because I couldn't get back into my apartment. So there you go.
This feels like we need a Tumblr like of things that happened to Shirlene.
No!
Like the fact that you didn't charge your shoes is possibly the most Shirlene thing I've heard for a little while. I love having
You have the story for the best and most Shirlene thing. We can talk about this in a little bit, but you were there for the microwave incident in Barcelona.
I was there. We
You
can
can tell
never go back there again.
What? I think we can. I don't think
No,
I
I think we
destroyed
can,
the
but-
place.
Yeah, God, that was a couple of years ago now.
This was a long time ago. It was at least 4 years ago. But back to the story of the iPhone. I know it's nice to keep chit-chatting, but I would like to keep us on point. This week, with iPhone owners being able to share their digital car keys with Pixel owners, it is the first time that you can share keys between these phone platforms. So I guess, look, yeah, it's like scary to move fully to a technological only world, but with this, now at least if I forgot my car keys and I'm on a Pixel, I can get an iPhone person to share it with me. I don't know, whatever. As we move towards a more technologically facilitated world, it's best that there's no like walls, right? No walled gardens anymore. I think it's better that we are able to like share things with more people outside of our bubbles.
This almost sounds like a segue.
And yeah, look at that. In other iPhone news, sharing iPhone news. This week too, Apple announced or Apple released iOS 16.2, and it is the one with the iPhone AirDrop restriction that we first saw happening in China. So iOS 16.2 will make it so that there is a 10-minute cap on how long you can leave your AirDrop setting on receiving from everyone, as opposed to contacts only or none. James, do you use AirDrop, and what setting are you on?
I just love the idea that your AirDrop settings sort of is like defines you as a person. It's sort of goes on your Tinder profile. That's the sort of like you need to know if you match with someone else. No, I don't use AirDrop a lot because I tend to be. I'm either I've got an Android phone or a Mac laptop, or now I'm on a Windows PC, but I've got an iPhone. So I've kind of ruined it for myself. In terms of, it's just I do use it occasionally, obviously when it's an option, but it's currently not always an option for me, which is a real shame because as a system, as a way of sharing things, it's great, right? I don't want to have to fire up anything else. I've got my Explorer open, drop, off you go, done, right?
It's magical.
It is.
I mean, not magical. Well, maybe. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know how closely you followed the podcast, but we've charted my slow progression into an Apple person over the months since iPhone 14 Pro. And one of the things.
You're not an Apple shill?
I'm not an Apple shill. Shut up. Shut your face.
I thought you were paid by them.
Oh, have you been reading the YouTube comments? No, I'm kidding. No, I am not. I have for the longest time and still am been a Google stan, and I still am a Google stan. I still love the Pixel phone, except for I can't. It's unreliable as a phone. But one of the big reasons I lean on iPhone so much now is that so many of the people that I hang out with now are iPhone people, and I take so many videos of the times we hang out together, or I take photos of my friends and I just AirDrop everything to them. I don't need to bother with texting. I don't need to bother with T-Mobile, Speaking of, I've mentioned T-Mobile a few times this episode. I need to quickly disclaim that Verizon used to be our parent company. They no longer own us, but they do own a small percent of our parent company now. So anyway, James, you were saying.
You're going to do the BBC thing where you're like, T-Mobile, but other operators are available, so that you're not seeing and biased to those things. I love that. I feel I still do a lot of dumb sharing. So if if you just got a link and it's on your phone, but you want it on your desktop, there are a couple of ways around this. And you can, there are clever ways to do it, but sometimes I end up just sending it to my wife on WhatsApp. Yeah. because then I got WhatsApp on the desktop and I just click on the link, right? So I do a lot of that, and I really wish that there was a nice, clean one way of sharing everything, right? And I know AirDrop isn't necessarily for that style of thing so much, but the seamlessness of that experience would be nice if I could just have an easy one option at whatever device I'm using. Yeah,
I agree with you. I mean, there used to be a time when browsers would build in that feature into their extensions list, right? There's send to your phone, send this page to your phone. The other way around is a little harder. I think Chrome does that.
There's just something about it, the way they in Chrome you can do Mac
open in desktop.
Yeah, there are, like I said, but I find actually just sharing it on WhatsApp or sometimes Slack it to myself. So I've got Slack on my phone, boom, and then I'll just do it. It's all these dumb ways of sharing little tiny digital things that I need to on another computer, which I know is not what AirDrop does, but in the spirit of that, I would it wouldn't be nice if it was just a lot easier to share very trivial things.
I feel like this is a whole other episode. You, me, all the different people on staff need to talk about the different platforms we use and why we love them and hate them. But back to AirDrop really quickly. iOS 16.2 makes it so that AirDrop, like I said, automatically reverts to contacts only after 10 minutes because this prevents unwanted requests to receive content. There was a case where a Southwest Airlines passenger was AirDropping nude photos to other people on that plane. Well done. Good job.
When I saw this story, what it actually reminded me of, now gather around children because Granddaddy James is going to tell you a story.
Wow.
Only because it's actually going back some. I remember when Bluetooth came out, not Bluetooth, something new. I mean, Bluetooth. This was a new thing that
Oh,
people
Lord.
like. So literally, it was like just for headsets at this point, right? But people have figured out once a few phones had got it, you could send a file and it would tell you
Yes.
what other Bluetooth devices were around, and then you
Yep.
choose them, and they would get a message saying, "Do you want to receive whatever file?" And it was like a
Yep.
very early 2000s version of doing exactly this.
Yeah. Yeah.
There were news stories about people who were like hooking up at train stations because they'd found each other on these Bluetooth.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it was weird. So when I saw that, it just reminded, I thought, like, doesn't matter what the technology is, humans will find a way, like,
Yeah.
to ruin it and to
Well,
sully
yeah.
it.
Grinder, but Bluetooth.
Right. Back in
Bluetooth
the,
only grinder. Yeah, great. Well, look, again, like I said, we talk about this stuff forever. Me and James will start our own podcast where we chat on endlessly for 6 hours, but we have to move on. This week too, we learned that Nothing may be in talks to launch a new smartphone in the US. If you remember, Nothing is that company that Carl Pei left OnePlus and founded, and it's the one that released that transparent phone. Back earlier this year, but that phone was not going to be available in the US. It was only going to be available in Europe, Middle East, and Asia. Apparently, Carl Pei this week told CNBC that Nothing may launch a future model in the US. Generally, I don't want to talk too long about this because it's Carl Pei saying something may happen. It's not a huge deal. But if there were a new phone contender here in the US, that would be interesting. James, do you know people who are, over in Europe who are like big on these Nothing phones?
absolutely not.
Nah.
No, I mean, like, so obviously, given what we do for a living, that
Yeah.
I hear about them all. First of all, I hate the name Nothing. It's just
Yep.
it's so annoying to like to write about. Right, you have to use
Yeah.
this horrible word. But I feel like I was trying to remember what they reminded me of, and I realized it reminded me of Essential. I don't know if you remember the
Yes,
Essential
it's
phone, Andy
exactly-
Rubin's
yeah.
thing, right?
Yes.
Of course you remember it, sorry, but it was a couple of years ago. It took me a while to remember. So I haven't used them, I haven't seen them around, but it looks, I know Matt Smith has, and they're quite sort of jazzy looking, interesting. I'm curious about it. I'm
Yes.
a long-term Android fan. Even though I'm on the
Yeah.
iPhone at the moment, I always wanted there to be better rivals, better options, just beyond
Yeah.
Samsung and the classic sort of thing. So I'm glad that they're around. I haven't experienced it. I don't know. It's just Android brands beyond Samsung really struggle to get sort of mind share, right? Even a Pixel
Yeah. Yeah.
is. But have you used
Yeah, small,
the
yeah.
Nothing phone?
I have not. I've just covered it from afar. I mean, it's not like, for lack of trying on their end to get us some devices to play with. But yeah, because they're not in the US, we don't have a reason for our US based reviewers or editors to kind of spend that much time with them. So again, like I said, I don't want to dwell too much on this. It's Carl Pei, again, not making huge promises, just kind of doing what Xiaomi has done, doing what a lot of other Chinese phone brands have done in the past, which is to say that they're eyeing the US market, but never really making it here because, again, regulatory stuff is difficult. But then, speaking of phones overseas, outside of the US, Honor, which used to be a Huawei sub-brand and has broken away since to do its own thing. Honor has been making its foldables in a while, but this week we published a sort of a hands-on, I believe, that our coworker Dan Cooper got to spend some time with. And, it seems like Dan liked it, which no shade to Dan. I tend to take it with a pinch of salt because I don't know that Dan has had a lot of experience with also, say, like a Galaxy Z Fold or even the Huawei Mate Fold. Have you had
Can I give you some water?
I choked.
Yeah. Sherlyn, please take a drink of water before you come back.
I can't just go grab a drink of water. Hang on.
Well, no, you can walk away.
You
No, I
literally
meant
can.
I have to wash my. Anyway. Okay. Excuse me. All right, I'm good. I'm going back to have you.
Okay.
Okay. James, have you played with a lot of Honor phones?
So again, a little bit more experience than nothing, for example. So I think I got given one at one MWC.
Yeah.
You know, like there's somebody, the Huawei in particular, they just used to like goodie bag everyone sometimes on the way out, right? And so you've got in this awkward position where you got this phone, but you don't know what to do with it. So, so I think my mother-in-law ended up with that one. But from what I could tell, it looked, and this is a couple of years ago, it's like I remember thinking, oh, you know, it looks nice aesthetically. The design was pretty good. You know, it had a nice sort of non-garish, bluish, electric blue sort of vibe to it. And for what she needed, it was perfect, right? It was capable enough, and but it wasn't complicated, and it was just perfect for that sort of category. And here in Spain, those are the brands that do really well. So you'll see iPhones around, of course, and a lot of people with Samsung. But Samsung, you're more likely to see like the A series, Samsung A, whatever.
Interesting.
Xiaomi is really popular here. Oppo, even like Pocophone. Those are, Spanish consumers are really good at finding that sweet spot for price to quality. So Honor's not a brand I see everywhere, but Vodafone here does sell it. It's one of their phone like brands that you can get, and I think they're surprisingly good for the price, for sure.
Yeah,
you know, it's nothing. What's bad to say about it, right? You know,
I know. I don't know exactly how much this folding phone is going to cost yet. Again, like Dan said, this is a prototype of its second foldable, coming from a brand like Honor too, which has traditionally been known for its budget mid-range earphones. I'd love to see, you know, how much they price this. It's also not something that we'll likely get here in the US. So if you're, you know, in America, well, like, let's just look. So for now, though, check out Dan's hands-on on Engadget.com for all the details on what it felt like to play with perhaps a mid-range folding phone.
But how are we doing with the non-mid-range ones, with the flagships, like Samsungs? I still haven't been able to use one. How do you find like the flip and the fold, and since the first ones?
I mean, we talked about this at length on our podcast, James. If you would just
you now, just
listen,
I want to know.
No, I'm kidding. The phones are much sturdier now. They're so much more refined. They actually feel like things we can recommend people buy now. The Flip 3 to the Flip 4, for example, has a good boost in battery life, good to the point where like it won't last you more than a day, you know, but it's good enough that like we don't hesitate to recommend it to people anymore. Used to be the Flip 3 I couldn't recommend because battery life was too short. Now they've really fixed that issue. I really love the Flip 4. The Fold 4, I would find it harder to recommend to most people because it's not so mainstream friendly, but it's still a very good, like, as far as foldables go, it's one of the better ones out there. I'm trying to think of the main other competition in the foldable space, at least in the US. It would be the Moto Razr Fold, but that's not really in the US just yet, right? It's more of like a more recognizable brand in the US. Right. It's the latest version is not available stateside yet, so we'll have to see. And then I'm still curious about all the other brands out there, Oppo, Xiaomi, Huawei. They're making it, and y'all can buy them.
I like the ones where it's kind of pulls out like a blind. And
the scroll
rolls out. Yeah, I don't know how to, like, it makes me think of the Venetian blind, you know, when you kind of pull out and it sort of shutters up. That's the one that interests me because it's kind of a best of both, right? It's a normal phone all the time, it folds out in a different way. It's not like this chunky book type thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of those out there. TCL made a lot of concepts featuring different rollable screens. LG also. Well? Yeah. LG made a scrolly TV, right?
As well, right.
Yeah, but LG made a wing as well. The one where the second screen kind of flips over like a sidekick, but like...
Yeah, that was like...
wild.
Wasn't that the first year when foldables were like a thing? And it was like... It seemed like they showed up and that's all they had to offer because they knew that they needed something that looks a bit like a foldable, but it didn't.
You're remembering the LG Wing, not the LG Wing, the LG dual screen V60 ThinQ. That's the one where the second screen was
Sure.
just an add-on as a case to the phone. It was ridiculous. It was so stupid. It was at one of those shows that we cover in either IFA, Berlin, or Barcelona, and it was dumb.
I feel that was
But go on.
NWC. I think it was back Glasgow.
It could have been.
I think it was. But
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Wing now, and I remember
It's-
this
yeah.
as well. It's kind of gnarly.
Speaking of stuff that we cover, you were talking about what was it, the Ayaneo? How do you pronounce his name? The Air
I've been
Pro
saying
gaming
it-
handheld.
I've been saying it Ayaneo.
Okay. It's spelled Ayaneo. If anyone wants to tell me how to pronounce it, please.
Ayaneo, and the model is the Air Pro. Now, they kind of showed up about a year or so ago, I think, with a gaming handheld. It was like an Indiegogo type thing, and so we've been cautious about these projects. It looked good, like a nice little Windows gaming handheld, and promised a lot. But they came through and they delivered it. Now that this year they've got this new model, the Air Pro, which there's an Air as well. Which this is not for the audio, but I can show you there. It's just looks like a very much like a sort of Nintendo Switch Lite.
Yeah.
That sort of size, but it runs Windows, so you can run full PC gaming on it. That is the sell. And
Is it like the Steam Deck?
Well, yeah, that's if you look at if you search YouTube for this, that like you'll see all the dedicated gaming accounts. So that's most of them are sort of making this comparison Stream Deck to this. So Stream Deck natively runs Steam OS. Which is fine. You still have a desktop mode, so it's still like a PC if you want it to be, but it's optimized for Steam and Steam games. Even though you can you don't have to run Steam games on it, but it is optimized for that, and you can run Windows on it apparently. So they're very similar in this way, but this is more like this is a Windows PC built into a gaming thing, so you can literally runs full Windows 11. And then you can open up your Steam library on that, or your Epic library, or just install the games. Just do it all. It's a lot more. They're very, very similar, but different enough. The main thing here. This is actually a practical size that you can put in your pocket. Whereas the Steam Deck, you must. I don't know if you've seen Jess's review. That thing is
The controller, yeah.
it was huge, right? There's no
Yeah.
putting that in your back pocket, right? It's a more capable machine, it's a little slicker on the gaming side of things, but it's a beast. Whereas this thing is cute, it's portable, it's handheld, and it runs PC games pretty well.
That's
with a sort of asterisk.
I was gonna say, are you gonna are you gonna tell me it's possible for me to like edit my documents on this Ayaneo Air Pro?
If you plug a keyboard and a mouse into this thing, 100% you can do that for sure. So it does. I have done that. I've taken the video out and plugged in a keyboard and mouse, or you could do it on the screen. But the screen is only 5.5 inches, which is fine for games, Word documents. It's a little trickier, but you theoretically could do it. It's just not going to be a whole bunch of fun. But you want to wait for the next one, which is the Ayaneo 2. It's called. That really is a Steam Deck rival. It's got better silicon. It's the same size screen. It's a beast. That one would be much more capable as a PC as well.
Okay, well, I mean, I love that you review a lot of these like really weird Windows machines for us. You've reviewed quite a bunch of them.
I just love weird gadgets in general. I look at some of the stuff I review and I'm like, God, I do all the weird stuff, right? Just like, everyone's like, doing a Razer laptop or something, or like a Dell tablet, and I'm here like sort of, electric roller skates.
No, but you did that like tiny little PC one time. I remember you told me about it. I was like,
Yeah,
whoa.
actually, I've got it right here on my desk because I was just comparing it for the thing. I love small portable PCs for some reason.
Yes.
Just anything that's like a whole PC but not as good as a real PC, I'm into it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're into it, and I think Windows is a pretty good platform for people to stuff into different machine form factors. But I would like to wrap this section with a mini rant, just a personal rant. It's not really a newsy thing, but it is related to what we cover, and that is my friends had been shopping during Black Friday. They asked me, they were like, hey, it's the Amazon Echo Show 15. Is that worth buying? And I was like, oh, I looked at our review, which I clearly forgot I edited. I was like, oh yeah, I remember I edited this review. It was pretty okay. So I said, go ahead. And they got it. They like it. They're an Amazon family. But the software on this is so weird. It's so bad. It's like we did some research afterwards, and we realized that there's a lot of there's a bug that people have been reporting since November 22, where Prime Video itself just doesn't work on this Amazon device. It's great. It works very well. So hey, Amazon, if you're listening, work on your shit. Work on your shit.
Look, this was the one that is the picture frame, right? So
yeah, 15-inch screen.
And it was it right in it was sort of originally repurposed. Its purpose was A, and then they sort of said, well, you might as well make it a media viewing device. So
it's actually it's kind of related to this week's news, because this week they did release an update that would make the Amazon Echo Show 15 be kind of like a Fire TV interface. So you can use it as a Fire TV. It's a 15-inch little screen for your Fire TV content. But specifically for Prime Video stuff, my friends were having trouble playing actual titles beyond the first episode, especially if they had run the latest software updates. So again, Amazon, get your shit together. Moving on.
Weird.
I know.
Fair enough.
That's something for Amazon to be working on. Meanwhile, we're working on. Devendra is working on, really quickly, I would just tell you what he's working on. He said he's working on end of year stories, as well as his Odyssey Arc review is finally going up. That is that strange looking Samsung screen that you can do in vertical or horizontal orientations. It would curve slightly around you. And I really wanted one pretty bad. I am working on the winners and losers of the year story. James is aware, because James and I are working together on this kind of. And if you all still have any ideas about people in tech or businesses or products in tech that really impressed you or really disappointed you this year, send them our way at podcast@engadget.com. James, what are you working on?
I'm still not out of the woods with the gaming handhelds. So I don't know if you ever remember Evercade. They kind of made a gaming handheld, which I'm showing up for Shirlene. But the unique thing there was that the games came on cartridges.
Oh.
So they're old games that you can buy. So it's a way of buying old games legally, right? And having a dedicated handheld. And they did a home console version, and they've just updated. They've released the second version of the handheld. So that's what I'm checking out at the moment. That is going to run, if you're listening to this podcast after it's been published, it will probably be on the site just about by then.
On Friday. Okay, on Friday. Gotcha. And then also, James, you're sort of leading our year-end coverage, right? You're heading that effort up. Anything you're specifically excited for that people should look out for? Other than the story I am putting together?
Well, your story would have been top of the list, obviously.
Yes,
but
obviously.
Carissa's going to be doing something on Facebook. Meta's big bet on the metaverse.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a video on that as well. So I'm particularly interested in that, because I think there's a lot of social media news this year, especially right now. But I think the metaverse thing is earlier on in the year, and it's really interesting to see how badly that is or is not going. So I'm particularly looking forward to Carissa's story on that.
And then one final note in working on, I want to shout out around Engadget. We've got Jess Condit's story came out last week about the Callisto Protocol. This is a game that maybe isn't the top of everyone's list, but it is one of the bigger games that was going to release in this part of the year, which typically is a slow year for game releases. Check out her article on it. Her takeaway, according to at least the headline, is that it didn't scare her. It just made her mad, which I'm already disappointed by it, but I hope you want to find out more. Check it out there if you've been looking forward to this game. Now, this... wait, let me just take a clean break, Ben. I'm going to just start picks. Okay. So, James, I know I asked you for a recommendation this week of things to listen to or watch or read. Do you have anything for me other than, me and James talk about British entertainment sometimes. Anything good?
Yeah, I can give you a podcast recommendation.
Okay.
called the Superhero Complex. And it's so you may have heard that, like, it's about real life superheroes, and there's one in particular that's very well known. His name is Phoenix Jones. He's based in Seattle.
Okay.
And he's like fully dressed up like a superhero, and he goes out solving crime. And he even had a band of sort of an Avengers like band of fellow superheroes that used to sort of go around solving crime. But it kind of all falls apart, and there's a lot of egos going on, and it's 100% worth check out. Superhero Complex.
Interesting. So it's stories like.
It's a series specifically about this guy, Phoenix Jones, and his real life alter ego, and the sort of arc of him becoming a superhero. It's literally like a sort of origin story, like
That's
a real
amazing.
life, and then the sort of arc of that story and its eventual decline. No spoilers, because it's publicly Googleable information, but it's just fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Nice. When I was asking you also about like preparing a recommendation this week, you said, can we go over our Wrapped? You didn't mean our Spotify Wrapped, right?
Yeah, well, sort of, because I don't actually use Spotify. I use YouTube Music, and so I kind of got like the sort of store brand version.
The generic,
the generic. So I actually don't have my phone here, so I can't look it up. But I do remember that mine said that. But you know my taste in music, right? So
yes, I do.
The artist I listened to the most was Tame Impala.
Cool. Tame Impala? Cool.
Right.
Wow, okay.
Which is,
all right.
like, if you know me, is not
you.
It's not. I mean, apparently it is, because I listened to it. But it wasn't. It was a surprise. So
Yeah, mine had just embarrassingly, it had Taylor Swift on there, but it was, we talked about this last week. Mine was just like, oh, K-pop and pop. Good job. And some EDM, I guess. So I was relying on you to bring the picks this week, but I'll just run through a list of, I don't know, British things that I like. Just because in honor of James, I guess. What were you about to say?
I was definitely got. If you want a TV recommendation, it's
Yes.
There is called The Outlaws, and it's by Stephen Merchant, who I don't know how famous he
Ooh.
is.
We know Stephen Merchant. Yeah.
Yeah, only because he's literally from my hometown, so I've only sort of seen him in that context. So he did The Outlaws, which did season 1, but they've just done season 2, and it's really good. It's actually set in Bristol, set in my hometown, and it's just really good, sort of cozy comedy, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to sort of describe it. It's like it's just a very cute comedy that and you kind of really get invested in it, even though like not a lot happens. But Christopher Walken's in it as well, which is really weird, because it's like a load of.
Go on.
What's the what?
I was gonna say, where can we watch it?
So it will depend, because it was a BBC back thing, so I viewed it via that avenue. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be some US distribution on it. I don't know where it would be though.
It's okay. We can look it up. But The Outlaws is a solid recommendation. I will steal that and say that was my pick this week, and yours was the podcast superhero complex. And then just to have my own original thing, I will really quickly say, if I haven't mentioned before, Black Books. It's a great little comedy series. Have you seen it?
That's been going for years, right?
Very long, very old.
Right.
Dylan Moran.
That's a classic of the ages, of course.
Exactly. I had to come in with a good one. All my British picks are great picks. I have great recommendations.
We don't do a lot of things
people.
very well, but we're not bad at TV and sometimes music.
And comedy.
I will say that.
I don't know about the music. Comedy.
You don't know about the music? What are you on about?
I don't really know about
gift
the
to
music.
the world.
Really? Okay. All right, cool. All right, well, I think that's it. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming and helping us out with the show, James.
Always a pleasure.
We enjoyed having you. All right.
Likewise.
Stick around. I'm going to do the outro, and there'll be a moment where I cue you up to share your socials, okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right, Ben, I'm going to do the outro. Cool. All right. For those watching the live stream, stick around. I'm just doing this for the audio. Okay. That's it for the episode this week, everyone. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Our theme music is by game composer Dale North. Our outro music is by our very own Terrence O'Brien. The podcast is produced by Ben Ellman. You can find James. Where can people find you online?
Best bet is Twitter, which will be my handle is It's True, and it's TREW.
ITSTREW on
Correct.
Twitter. And if you want to send me your very cute, realistic AI drawings that are also not nudes, you can send them to me. I am at Sherlyn Lowe on Twitter. Email us your thoughts at podcast@engadget.com. Leave us a review, please, on iTunes, and subscribe on anything that gets podcasts.
Okay.
All right. We got people leaving already. Dude named Charlie leaving. Lucky Dog podcast. Bye.
Yeah,
I love how
a couple people leaving.
You slipped into podcast outro voice.
I do. Everyone
no,
notices that.
Yeah, no, it's yes.
Yeah, it could very well be like a repurposed, replayed recording, but I like to go like slip something different in each time so people know if we're actually doing it every time.
Yeah.
All right, so I see that Springle said something early on that I wanted to shout out. Have you seen "Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared," James?
No, what it did? What?
It's a YouTube video.
No.
CF542 asked if anyone has seen RingCon Smart Ring that's on Indiegogo and you're going to give it a try. As a general, not a rule, but as a general practice, we don't test Indiegogo or crowdfunding projects because they're less reliable. There is not always for sure they're going to send out their stuff. So there's no real point in us reviewing something that people can't readily or freely buy.
If it's like if they've got previous, right?
Say that again?
If it
right.
Released stuff before and there's a bit more faith.
Well known, established, yeah.
That's
There's if we can more likely trust that they're coming out, then we will more likely review the stuff. But we also have to be very judicious. Darren asked, why haven't I published any stories on the website lately? Because I got sick in October, recovered, got sick again. So I've been out sick for a few weeks. And the stuff that I've been working on, other than the Scribe review, which went out recently, is stuff that's more like long-term / behind the scenes. I'm putting things together with James for the best for the end of year coverage, or it's coming soon, that sort of thing. Then we have a question about cameras.
Yes. So we had who was it? Azaz Cora asked, literally, how do I connect DSLR camera to PC? Which is a big question. We have to know what your PC is. The camera is a Canon, is it
700D?
Yeah, EOS?
EOS.
Or
EOS 700D.
EOS, yes, EOS 700D. Yeah, but it really depends on like what your PC setup. But isn't it really just a USB kind of thing?
No.
Yes,
It doesn't depend on
no.
your PC setup. Go ahead, James.
I only say this because I have a Canon DSLR and I've done
Same.
this. So
Same.
But I don't want to steal your thunder, Shilling, but I will add that the Canon, if you just Google Canon webcam, I think is probably the best thing to search for, and you'll find some software. The problem I had is my model wasn't listed as one of the compatible models. So it'll give you a list of what DSLRs are compatible, but I chose the nearest one on the list and it worked just fine.
Okay. What model are you using?
This is my old, because it's a 550D, I think. Which
that was mine.
Yeah, it was a good camera like 10 years ago.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
But which is why I wanted to use it as a webcam now, because I've still got it. Might as well use it as a webcam. So Canon software, it's a bit more forgiving than what it might make you think.
Yeah, no, that's a good shout. I also see that Declan Flynn in the chat already answered the question. You have to use the EOS webcam utility. You have to download it from the Canon website, and you can use it to randomly. Azos wasn't clear on like exactly what they were trying to achieve. If you're trying to use it as a webcam, there is that function, which is the live camera function, or you can use it to take shots as a, like a remote trigger. Like you have the USB cable being very long, perhaps, and you have your camera set up in a separate room. You can still use like the professional photographer photographers do it, they use like a keyboard space bar or whatever to trigger the shutter. So you can do that as well. Springles had said that the LG V60 dual screen ThinQ would have been better as its own device with an optional add-on later that year as a surprise, which is fair. But it's still a flawed product. And then there's a lot of talk about why Chinese companies have such a difficult time coming into the US. We have talked about this at length in the past. I don't believe it's hard to say whether Samsung, Apple have anything to do with it, but we've talked about how the U.S. government, there's a lot of senators who have cited security concerns in the past with Huawei devices, which is why Huawei, I think it was 2020, had this huge moment of like they were going to make an announcement with AT&T at CES, and then they couldn't. That was a fun time.
Yeah, and this has been going on for a really long time. I remember, like, before I even worked at Engadget or in tech media, I worked for a nonprofit that, like, tried to get everyone access. It was literally called Access Now, and so we talked a lot about whether or not these embargoes on various phones were a good idea, and like they had a strange point of view on things. They wanted like more phones for more people, even if it would be maybe less secure overall. Possibly because it would be like cheaper if you're importing more phones from more like makers.
Fair. As we were saying, the outro, Darren N said that they just got here and you put on coffee and you're not leaving. I hate to tell you, we don't have that much time left on this stream. We're about to do our goodbyes. Hi to Daniel Diaz, who's also like, I'm still here. Kathy Lee said, great show. Thank you. We appreciate it. Never seen your name before, so we hope you come back around. And yeah, there's anyone, you get your last few comments in if you want to shout out or have a question for James, because I don't know when we're seeing James back on the podcast again. I hope not too long.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounded pretty, I don't know if he's coming back.
I'm about to send you, so I don't know what I'm about to do. You want to tell people the microwave story from your point of view?
I saw sort of, I can't remember how it went down. Were we all in the building or?
No, you guys were out. Somehow I was at the building, yeah.
And how were we alerted about it then?
Telegram.
Or was it you in Telegram like, oh, how do I use a fire extinguisher?
Yes.
And we're like, wait, back up a little bit. I feel like, why might you want to use a fire extinguisher? You tried to microwave something in a foil container or something like that?
This story has been told several times, but I've always wanted the James perspective story because James was the one who responded to my Telegram message first. What happened was there was a small fire in the microwave and there was a fire extinguisher in my room, but I didn't really know if that was I knew how to use it right. Pretty sure I did pull out the pin, I squeezed down on the thing, and then there was a sort of powdery residue left all over the place. So I think I said something to the group chat, which is the team that's on the ground in Barcelona. I just went, who knew fire extinguishers left this like powdery residue? And James was like, and James needs to know this too, because James is the one that was like coordinating all our accommodation stuff.
Well, like, I don't know, I can't remember exactly what happened after that, but I do remember because the guy who it was like this sort of effectively one house split into apartments, right? So it was kind of like a reality TV show with the Engadget crew, right? We all live in the same building for a week.
Yes.
And Jose, the guy that was running it, he was super nice. So he was like really, really chill. But I was like, our like deposit flashed in front of my eyes, sort of thing. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to have to explain this in some like debrief meeting why we've had to pay X or Y. But I think you managed to sort of flirt your way out of it a little bit.
I did. I just was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, Jose. I didn't know you couldn't put metal in Spanish microwaves. First of all, it was not...
As if Spanish microwaves were any different.
Look, here's the story. I've said it many times on this show, but I'll say it again. It's not that I left foil in the microwave. It was that the microwave, when I arrived in the room, had a metal stand in it, like one of those like little tripod-y steamery things. I was like, oh, I guess this can be used as a grill too. And so I was like, I left it in there. And then when I went to heat up my food, I was like, wait, this thing is that the wattage is weird. It's not hot enough. So then I had taken out the metal stand. I was like, it's not hot enough. This is where my brain farted, right? Your brain broke. And I was so jet lagged at this point. I was like, you know what? Maybe putting it closer to the bulb, maybe putting it higher up would heat it faster. So I put it on I put the stand back in. I was like, there's a reason the stand was in there when I showed up. And so I put it back in there. I heated it up. I went to like write an article. I came back and there was smoke everywhere in the microwave, a small little fire that I couldn't put out just by splashing water. I was like, oh, no. This calls for a fire extinguisher. CF542 asks, what is a Spanish microwave? It is a microwave in Spain that
literally just a normal microwave in Spain.
Yeah, it was. I was like, but the buttons are different from the ones in America. I don't know which one to push to start a fire. You know?
One of them had an Enye on it, probably.
Yeah,
one of the buttons.
Fuego button.
Okay, but to be very to be very fair to everyone involved, that was stupid of whoever was administrating that rental to put a metal thing in the microwave as if to imply it was okay to do that.
Well,
I will own up.
Maybe this is a Spanish microwave thing, but a lot, I mean, no, it's not. But it's obviously that thing is the microwave does have a grill function, right? Which is just heat.
Yeah.
And you put the metal tray thing in for that thing. It's like a little stand, right? So I understand why it exists, but to me, it does seem a bit like, why would you put those two things together, right? Just keep metal and microwave far apart, even if it has a grill function, right?
Ever since then, I have become an expert on how microwaves work. It's been great. So thanks to everyone in the chat going, folks, this is why you need renter's insurance. Yes, CFI42. Declan Flynn says, yes, that's right. Blame the Spanish microwave. Thank you. Springle says, at least it didn't explode. So I appreciate that as well. But yeah, I'm glad we were able to share this story from James' perspective really quickly with y'all. I don't want to drag this out too much longer. So Ben, if you want to take us out, you can.
Okay, so thank you everybody for watching. The video stream comes to you via our video team, who is Julio Barrientos and Luke Brooks. If you've stuck around this long, remember that we live in a world of algorithms. You know that we live in a world of algorithms better than the average person, you watching the tech podcast live stream. So rate us 5 stars on iTunes, rate us 5 stars on Google Podcasts. Tell 2 or 3 friends about it in real life. And I don't know, go to your local like bar bathroom that has a bunch of graffiti in it already and listen to the Engadget Podcast.
There you go.
And we'll see you next week.
Thank you all. Come back next week. Bye.